Hi, in this video, I will tell you about top 16 crypto projects that are launching this year or next year, so 2023 to 2024. Some of them are older, however, are likely to launch a token around this time as well, so stay tuned if you're interested in that. I'll start with a couple of layer 1s, there are quite a few layer 2s, and there is also an NFT marketplace. Let's get right in. Let's start with Coin Network. Coin Network is a layer 1 multi-threaded blockchain. Multi-threaded means it contains of several blockchains that are inside of it. It uses dynamic sharding as well as other more innovative technologies to increase the throughput dramatically. And it is based on the proof of work consensus, but the proof of work is altered and some of the inefficiencies are optimized, and the new consensus is called proof of entropy minima. So with this consensus and several features like dynamic sharding and merged mining, Coin Network achieves throughput up to 50,000 TPS. However, it scales dynamically the more users use it, so the number is quite arbitrary. If you are interested in participating in a testnet, there is an incentivized testnet upcoming very soon for Coin Network. They also have a social media rewards program that you can participate in and earn the token for basically doing some activity on social media. And the token is going to be launched upon mainnet launched, which is expected in Q4 this year. As for funding of Coin Network, it has raised $10 million from notable investors, including Polychain Capital and Alumni Ventures. And we'll go to the next layer 1 now, and that is Linera. I hope I pronounce all of them correctly, but I'm not sure, so you can correct me in the comments. But Linera is a blockchain, layer 1 blockchain, that has been in development since 2022. It is a multi-chain EVM compatible L1, and its architecture is also quite different from all the other ones we have seen before. However, the consensus is delegated proof of stake, just like many others that are being built right now. And the architecture includes microchains in it, and I haven't really seen any other blockchain to compare it to. But basically, it is aiming to focus on the DeFi sector and the protocols based on fast pay. Linera has raised $6 million from one seed round led by Andreessen Horowitz. Without further ado, let's go to number 3, and that is going to be Alio. Alio is a layer 1 blockchain focused on privacy and security. Quite a thing to wait for because it has been in development since 2019, so for 4 years, and they're expected to launch in the second half of this year. The last incentivized testnet is going on right now, so you can still participate in it. However, it is already in its last stage where you can deploy the applications. It has raised $298 million from notable investors, including Andreessen Horowitz, Quora, Samsung Next, SoftBank Vision Fund, Placeholder Capital, and quite a few others. So you can go check out Alio if you would like to as well. The next layer 1 blockchain that is likely to launch this year is Monad. Monad is a proof-of-stake EVM-compatible blockchain that is advertising 10,000 transactions per second. It has only been in development since 2022 and is soon to go on testnet, so the testnet is likely to be incentivized, so I would keep an eye on that if you're interested in testnets. It has raised $19 million with Dragonfly in the lead and several other investors. Let's go to the next layer 1 because there are quite a few to go through in this video. And next one is Shardium. Shardium has been in development since 2022, also very recent, and it is also just an EVM compatible blockchain that uses, guess what, sharding in its architecture. So it uses quite a bit of sharding and relies on that to increase the throughput because most blockchains are focusing on increasing the throughput. And addressing that issue. I have a full video about Shardium that you can watch. I'll leave the link in the description. The TPS that it is advertising is 2000, so also quite a bit. And keep in mind that all the blockchains that I'm talking about are still layer 1s. They are achieving the throughput on layer 1. And the investment that they have received, the funding, $23.2 million. From Big Brain Holdings, Digital Finance Group, and the Spartan Group, as well as several others that I am not that familiar with. We'll go to the next blockchain, which is not exactly a layer 1, however, is part of a layer 1 stack because it's part of a modular stack. It's called Fuel. Fuel has been in development since 2021 and was initially launched as a layer 2 scalability solution for Ethereum, just like so many others that we have. And it was one of the first optimistic rollups actually in the industry. However, they noticed that the industry is moving towards a modular path. There are monolithic and modular blockchains. Monolithic just do all of those things by themselves, and modular blockchains divided into execution layer, data availability layer, consensus layer, and settlement layer. But you can choose how many you divide it into, and you basically pick several blockchains to execute each function separately and then combine them together to make a modular layer 1 that will be able to process many transactions per second. Fuel is one part of this layer 1 stack. It has received $81.5 million in funding, including the Spartan Group, Blockchain Capital, Stratos Technologies, Coin Fund, and others in the investor list. It has been on testnet, since March the 20th in 2023, so there has been no exact information as to when it's going on mainnet or when it's launching the token. However, I would keep an eye on that because the testnet has been running for a while. The next chain I would like to talk about is Zeta Chain. The Zeta Chain has been in development since 2021, and it's not exactly a layer 1. However, it still is kind of a layer 1. You can build on it. However, it is also an Omnichain Protocol that aims to connect all the blockchains together, so including non-smart contract blockchains like Doge and Bitcoin with smart contract blockchains like Ethereum. So it's a very cool feature that Zeta offers, and it's solving the issue of interoperability that many people have been talking about, but kind of calmed down in the last, couple of months. But maybe they will return to the talk of interoperability with the launch of Zeta Chain. The protocol is based on Cosmos SDK and utilizes Tendermint consensus mechanism. And this is a phase 2 of their incentivized testnet right now. And that is likely that they're going to go on mainnet pretty soon because they have been on testnet for a while. And as I understood, it is the last one before mainnet. They received over $340 million in funding from MasterCard, SoftBank, Sodexo as lead investors in the 3 rounds that they had. Another Omnichain protocol that I would like to talk about is Layer 0. I'm sure you're all familiar with Layer 0 because there are so many talks about the airdrop that is likely going to be. However, there is no exact information about any airdrops or tokens from Layer 0. It has been in development since 2021 and it is focusing as well on interoperability issue, and it is trying to solve that by being like a base layer for many blockchains. That's why it's called Layer 0, to connect all the Layer 1s or Layer 2s, whatever you want from the basics. And it has raised over $293 million from notable investors, including Anderson Horowitz, also FTX Ventures and Alameda Research, Sequoia Capital, Binance Labs, and Multichain Capital, but there are many others as well. It's now on mainnet, and we are just waiting for the launch of the token and the potential coming airdrop, I would say. That's all for the Layer 1s and Layer 0s and all that fun stuff, and we are going towards a Layer 2 ecosystem that has been abundant this year, as well as going to be abundant next year. We'll start with Scroll. Scroll has been in development since 2021. It's an EVM equivalent zk rollup for Ethereum, and to my knowledge, it is a Type 2 zkEVM. So there are different types, from Type 1 to Type 2, Type 3, and Type 4, and probably some other ones that I'm not aware still. But basically, the smaller is the number. That means the more compatible it is with all the Ethereum dApps. So Type 1 and Type 2, Type 1 is basically Ethereum. Type 2, there are just a couple of opcodes that need to be changed. And Type 3 and Type 4 require a little bit more change to your code that you have for Ethereum to deploy it on the Layer 2. So Scroll, to my knowledge, is a Type 2 zkEVM, and it is now on alpha testnet, expecting one more testnet before its mainnet launch, so probably sometime in 2024 we are expecting the mainnet. However, I did not find any specific information about that. The funding of Scroll is $80 million, including investments from Polychain Capital, Sequoia Capital, Coinbase Ventures Partners, and several others. The next Layer 2 on the list is a zkEVM Type 1 zkEVM called Tycho. Tycho has been in development since 2022 and is expected to launch in 2024. So the token launch is likely upon the mainnet launch, as is the case with most projects. As I said, it is a type 1 zkEVM, and it means it is completely equivalent to Ethereum. And they are still in development, and I hope they can achieve this goal, because you never know what can happen, and maybe they will have to switch to type 2, but they are aiming to create a type 1. And according to Vitalik Buterin, the type 1 zkEVM is like the goddess of all zkEVMs, so fingers crossed for Tycho and that they have everything well made. Currently, Tycho is in its testnet 3. I have a video for a testnet guide for the second one, but they are very similar in the setup, so you can check that out. I will leave the link in the description as well. And let's go to the funding of Tycho, because you're likely interested in that. 3 funding rounds totaling $22 million, including GSR, OKX Ventures, KuCoin Ventures, Generative Ventures Network, Sequoia Capital China, and a few others. So that's quite a list as well for Tycho. And then the next one I'm sure you're all familiar with is Starkware. Starkware is a firm that develops several different products that are all based on zero knowledge. Starkware has been here since 2018, so it's one of the first solutions that is out there. And one of the most popular things that it has developed is Starknet, which is a zero-knowledge rollup for Ethereum, which uses, instead of normal wallets, it uses smart contracts wallets, which allows it for more features, lower gas fees, and very interesting setup that is different from other layer 2s. We're still waiting for the token from Starkware, and that is why it is in this video, because it also recently launched a Kakarot zkEVM, so it's staying on the trend for the zkEVMs launching. It has received Starkware as a company I'm sure you're all familiar with, but the investments into it have been quite large. The funding it has received is $273 million from, well, quite a few interesting projects, Alameda Research, but Paradigm, Ethereum Foundation, Sequoia Capital, Pantera Capital, and others. The next one I am sure you're all familiar with, because there have been so many talks about the potential airdrop from zkSync. zkSync is developed by Matter Labs since 2019, and it is one of the bigger players in the industry. Matter Labs has raised $458 million from Lightspeed Venture Partners, Variant, Anderson Horowitz, and several other, quite a few, many other VCs. zkSync that they are developing is a zero-knowledge rollup variation, and they also recently upgraded to zkSync 2.0 or zkSync Era. I'm not exactly sure what the naming is because they changed it. We are still waiting for the token from zkSync as well, so hence why I am talking about it and mentioning in this video. The next zero-knowledge rollup that I would like to mention is Aztec. Aztec has been in development for a long time, since 2017. It's another zk rollup, yes, but it has a different feature. Because it uses zero knowledge, it can offer some privacy solutions for the applications that you're building. What's cool about it is that it has programmable privacy, so that you can choose which parts are private versus which parts are open to the public, so that's good. And the funding it has received is $119 million from Anderson Horowitz, or A16Z, as it's also known as, ConsenSys and Coinbase, and A Capital Ventures, so also quite big names in the investor list. If you thought those were too many zkEVMs, I have one more for you, and that is called Linea. I'm sure many of you are familiar with Linea, despite it being launched very recently. They announced the testnet and the launch of Linea in March this year, and it is built by ConsenSys team. That's why you're likely familiar with it. ConsenSys is a popular name in the industry. It has been out there since 2014, and one of the popular products it has developed previously is MetaMask. I'm sure many of you are familiar with MetaMask, so it's also built by ConsenSys, just like Linea. To date, ConsenSys has raised over $726 million, which is a lot from multiple VCs and also international companies like Microsoft and SoftBank. And so you can check out Linea if you're interested, because they are right now running on testnet, which is incentivized. However, it has been out there since March the 28th, so it's likely you're a bit late. However, I will still investigate what's out there with their activities that are going on through Galaxy. As you notice, there are quite a few zkEVMs, as I already said. So we have Matter Labs with their zkSync 2.0, zkSync Era, we have Polygon with their zkEVM, which I also talked about in one of the previous videos. I'll leave the link in the description. And there's also Linium, there's Kakarot from Starkware, there's Tycho, there's Scroll, and there's just the ones I mentioned off the top of my head, and which are the popular ones. And I'm sure we're going to have many more, which is very interesting as they are right now will be competing for the market share that they would like to get and which one people are going to use. However, likely in the long run, they will compete for EVM equivalence, as I expect, because EVM equivalence means how convenient and easy it is to use the zkEVM. So do your own research on that if you are interested. However, this seems quite a big narrative going on this year, next year. Speaking of bigger companies developing L2s, we have Base, which is a layer 2 developed by Coinbase. Coinbase did not develop a zkEVM or nor zk rollup, just like so many others did. It chose the path of optimistic rollups. So optimistic rollups is like Optimism, like Arbitrum that are well known at the moment. Base will be a home for all the Coinbase products that it develops on chain, as well as just be an open ecosystem for all the developers that would like to develop on it. It has been announced on testnet since February 2023, and the testnet is still running, so you can check it out as of now. And I don't think I need to introduce Coinbase to you because it has been out there since 2012 and it received funding from basically every VC you can think of in the total amount of $622 million. The last but not the least on the list is Zora. Zora is not a layer 1, it's not a zkEVM even, it's an NFT marketplace, and you might have heard of it and might not, but it has been in development from 2020, and the NFT marketplace that focuses on brands and creators that are not exactly crypto-based, but of course there is some crypto stuff as well. So creators that develop some art from the outside can mint it on Zora, and it has established itself as this kind of thing. Zora allows users to mint NFTs, not just images, but also audio files, video files, and music and photos as well, of course. It has a no-code creator NFT toolkit, so basically you don't need to know any coding to deploy your NFT on Zora and then sell it on there, which is, I guess, an attractive feature for people coming into crypto from the outside especially. Recently, it launched a layer 2 network that aims to decrease the fees for minting the NFTs, so it's a creator-focused layer 2. Zora does not have a token, so that's why many people are interested in Zora at the moment, with so many recent developments that it has announced, as well as its layer 2 network. As for funding, Zora received several big investments from notable investors, in total $60 million from Paradigm, Coinbase Ventures, Hon Ventures, and others. And that's all I have for you for the 16 top crypto projects that are launching or launching a token in 2023 to 2024. And do your own research on any of those you found interesting. I hope you found this video useful, like kind of a guidebook, like a checklist, if you have checked all these projects out. And thank you very much for watching, and see you in the next one. And leave this video a like if you found it useful, please.